everybody. Welcome to another video. Um, Today we're going to be discussing the Pensacola Ice Flyers with lifelong Ice Flyers fan Jamie Corkum, and we're basically going to discuss from the start of the season where we thought they would be to where they're at right now. And as most of you know, before the season started, I predicted a last place finish for Pensacola Ice Flyers. I did not think they would be that competitive this year. I thought their only hope to get out of last place was Macon, but I would say Macon is in a better position to finish ahead of them currently, to where they're at now with only 6 wins on the season and still last place. I've said it then, and I'm going to say it now. You got to hold the man in charge most responsible, which that would be Gary Graham. From what I've seen, he's made no adjustments, has taken no accountability for anything, and rumors have it players just are not wanting to play for him. He's made questionable decisions, starting with the leadership group, making nothing against him, but making Jake Hamilton captain when he's never played a single game with the Ice Flyers, and has never really been a captain anywhere else before. When you got a guy named Ivan Bondarenko right there, that's the obvious choice for captain. Um, so we're going to get into it here with Jamie. Like I said, from what I've heard in his post-game interview the other night, of him ripping apart his forwards, but basically praising his defense, and that to me just screams I'm out of touch with reality and don't know what the hell is going on. His forwards are carrying his team, and his defense is burying his team. The defense, the entire if you play defense on Pensacola Ice Flyers, you're a minus. There's not one defender that's in the plus. And the captain before that game last night was a minus 13. So I think that speaks volumes onto what the real issue is with the leadership group and Gary Graham's decision. Jamie, we'll start in right with you. From the start to right now, is this where you've seen the Ice Flyers being?
I honestly thought we would be, like you said, we'd be fighting with Macon, but a 6-win season is just horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And you're absolutely right. Like, we're watching that press conference last night. He mentioned how the defense was doing good in the first period, yet they gave away two breakaway opportunities, just losing the puck that led to two immediate goals. Then later on in that interview, he said, "Oh well, the defense does need some work." It's just like the dude, Coach Graham, does contradicted himself so many times during that press conference. It's mind boggling. But yeah, no, we are nowhere near where we're supposed to be. Period. End of story. And I thought we'd be doing at least somewhat better, fighting for maybe hopefully a playoff position, but we're not even close. It's absolutely horrible.
Like what you said, there's he has made some additions, and don't get me wrong, they've added depth. Like I said, I think the forwards are the bright spot in Pensacola when you add players like Doug Elgstam and Caden Cahill. Like I said, so I mean Pensacola's got players that can put pucks in the net. They really do, and they've came out strong. They usually get off to great starts, but they just can't seem to sustain that over the course of a full game. Is that something you're seeing as well?
Absolutely, and I mean the statistics show it too. You mentioned that not a single defensive man is a positive; that they're all minuses. Quick look: every single player on the team is a minus, for save for a couple evens. There is not a single positive player on the team.
Wow. And what do you think about Graham pretty much throwing his players under the bus, blaming them, and taking no accountability for yourself? Do you think that's also a big issue?
I absolutely is. I mean, why would players want to play with somebody that doesn't hold themselves accountable and blames them in the locker room during practices, and then after the game said, "Oh, the players just didn't play the way they were supposed to." Look, you're in charge of the team. You make them play. If they're not buying into your system, there's an issue with you. Period. That's management 101. Get your everyone to buy into your system. If they're not buying in, you've got to change something.
Yeah. I mean, we all understand that this is hockey. Tough love is shown in hockey, from coaching staff and leadership. But the difference from what I see in that is that leadership group takes accountability for their actions. Instead of blaming others, they'll be like, I need to do better. I need to do this. I need to do that to get the team going. Have you heard anything like that from Gary?
Not one bit, and it definitely shows too. He refuses to hire any type of assistant coach, and that's you can see that clearly how overworked he is in that aspect on our special teams. For a while there, we had allowed more shorthanded goals than power play goals scored, which as of this point, we've only scored 11 goals off the power play. Out of the 63 goals we have scored this season, 11 are on power plays. That's it.
Yeah, because that's what I mainly see is the special teams, defense, and inconsistent goaltending. But you have inconsistent goaltending again because of the defense hanging out their
Yep.
goalies to dry. I mean, you look
Yep.
at who they've had from Kevin Reesop, Brody Claes, Cody Karpinski. Nothing against these guys, but they're basically career backups, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, a Reesop was probably the one that I would say you could say has been a starter before when he was with Quad City Storm and Bailey Birkin wasn't there. But for the most part, these goalies, you gotta put a solid defense in front of them for them to be effective, and I just don't see it. Are you seeing the same things I'm seeing?
I absolutely am, and that kind of ties into the one thing that Gary Graham said in the press conference that I agree with is that our this team cannot cut any corners. Period. End of story, because of where we're at. We've got the talent, we do, but you play sloppy and you have a sloppy game plan, which is strictly on the coach and not making sure his players, are playing the way that they're supposed to be playing. Then you're going to give up. What was it? 3 goals in 10 minutes when you guys came and played us in Pensacola.
Yeah, I believe so.
And I mean, I was at that game just watching it, and I was ready to leave after the first 10 minutes. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I stayed the whole game because, I mean, it's Peoria, Pensacola. There's going to be some action. So, um, and the other thing I'm seeing a lot of people are blaming, especially from the fan side, is the referees, which is why Pensacola's not doing good. And that's really frustrating because the referees don't affect the game that much unless he's our favorite number 5. But that's a whole different topic which we'll get into another day. But the fact of the matter is, yes, the referees do affect the game, but their job is to call the game. If they're giving us penalties, we're still not executing on them. That's the coach, hands down. End of day, the coach. If the players are, it's like the players were afraid to shoot the puck, and from everything that I'm hearing, rumors and stuff, the coach doesn't want the players to shoot, except for the select players he wants to actually get the goals. So if they're just constantly passing, trying to get to the specific player to get the puck in the net, that's never going to work. In a power play, you have the numbers, overwhelm them, put pucks on net, crash the net, get the puck in on the rebound. That's basic hockey 101. And we're just not seeing that at all, and that's a coaching issue.
Yeah, from what I've seen on special teams, yeah, it's just I see them being too passive, not enough urgency, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's just like they're not getting to rebounds. It's one and done. Basically, if we don't score on this first shot, the other team gets the rebound, clears the zone, and we got to reset all over again. And I think the numbers show that, like what you said, 11 goals on the power play. And again, these are numbers that I know before they played last night's game, so I don't know how much they've changed. But at one point, the power play was operating at like 12% success rate, and the penalty kill was like at 77 or 78% success rate, which
Which that's a 78% penalty kill is not bad.
it's not
Not bad at all.
horrible, but you'd like to see it above 80.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, 12% for power play success is terrible. Absolutely terrible. You should have ideally around 50%. You want to score on 50% of your power plays. I think the NHL league average is what, 30?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always told people the golden rule is 25%. If you're 25% and above, especially in this league, I mean, you're having a successful power play. I mean, anything below 20%, and you're like, all right, guys, we need to step it up and do better. But at 12%, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. That's a pretty bad number, and a number you don't expect a team like Pensacola to have with the talent they have on that roster. But
Right,
what you said, if they're only trying to get specific people to shoot the puck at the net, this better explains those numbers on special teams. I just don't think that's the great strategy to implement at this point in time because right now you want to get pucks on the net. Would you like to have the perfect shot go in? I mean, who doesn't want that? But is that realistic to do every single power play? It absolutely is not. So,
right.
with them being where they're at, do you see room for improvement? Do you see this getting much better under the tutelage of Gary Graham?
I only see it getting worse, and it's just going to continue to get worse. He brought in some decent players. Caden Cahill is an absolute fantastic player. I love watching him out on the ice. He reminds me a lot of Garrett Milan. Houston Wilson being back, he's made an immediate presence out there on the ice. Just seeing that him out there, and we've got great players out there, but without the cohesion that the coach has to bring, there's never going to be the mesh. The players are never going to mesh well enough to actually put a proper performance on the ice.
I mean, I guess I never really asked you, and we just touched on it. I guess I should have asked you then. But I mean, what was your initial reaction when Gary Graham announced Jake Hamilton as the captain?
I was flabbergasted. I thought Ivan Bondarenko was absolutely going to be the captain to replace Garrett Milan. And it's the last couple of years, he's been training to take that exact role. And then we get this complete shot to left field to get Jake Hamilton, who, you think about it, he averages a penalty a game, and his total penalty minutes for the season is tied for second. Tied for third. Faulkner has 41. Uh, Pereira has 36 and Hamilton has 35. How can you be a captain for the penalty box?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good point. Like I said, taking penalties is one thing. I mean, look at Riverman for example. I mean, we lead the league in penalties. I'm not going to hide behind that, but we have a penalty kill that balances that out. It was ranked number one, in fact. If you don't have the penalty kill to support your physical play and taking those penalties, you got to adapt a different strategy. Is that something you would agree with?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the game against Joe, for instance, third period, we were still very much in that game. And then we took a penalty. As soon as we got off the penalty, we took another penalty. And it's just like, what are you guys doing? It was clearly frustration penalties. And I was just like, you guys are still absolutely in this game. Stop, throwing your stick between the skates or slashing somebody or cross checking. Get the penalty calls on them so we can, go on the power play. And they just weren't doing it. It was frustration, and that's been our third period all season long. We play 40 minutes of hockey, and then the third period, it's like our conditioning is only for 40 minutes and not the third period, and we just go flat and make stupid penalties and just throw the game away.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that because, like I said, I've watched besides watching just Pensacola and Riverman, I've watched some of the Pensacola games, and usually they do. I mean, in that first period, they tend to outshoot their opponents. They're out there skating hard, skating fast. It seems like they're doing everything right, and it's just like as the game grows, frustration starts to mount, defense starts to break down, the goaltending starts to break down, and then it seems like we're playing the blame game. We're just
Yep,
pointing fingers. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault, and it's just hard to be successful when we're playing the blame game.
yep. And the only time that I have seen us actually look like a hockey team is when we played Huntsville at this last game, and we beat them at home. And it was a fun, fantastic game to go to. And there's one thing about being in the hangar. It's the crowd is always good, no matter what. Win, lose, have the hangar crowd is always there. And I mean that atmosphere, just the fans, erupting when we won that game, and it was Houston Wilson's first game back at home, and it was such a great environment to be in. But that hockey has been one game out of what are we at 24 games now, 25? Actually, no, I think we've played 26 to be honest. Yeah, we've played 26.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you get off to people saying, well, this is a new team, new guys. It's one thing to get off to a slow start, right? Like that first
Mm,
month. But when you're in January,
yep.
and you're got 6 wins on the season, and that's it, and you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. It's not like you can point to something and be like, all right, I can see where we're going now. And I mean, is there anything that you can grasp onto that you can be like, okay, I think we can turn it around if we just focus and build off this type of thing?
We got to actually focus around our playmakers. Shane Bull, for example, right now he got a call up, but he is getting the puck in the net. He's doing great. Caden Cahill's doing great for us. Play around the players that are actually making plays, um, and completely redo the defense. That's the only way we progress from here. Oh, and the final thing: give Gary Graham the sack and send him in the garbage truck where he belongs.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be frustrating. I mean, like I said, it kind of like what I was saying last year about Ice Bears fans. It's something that you just don't expect to see. It's not something you're used to seeing. The same with the Ice Flyer fans. In a way, at the start, I can get why they were kind of in denial about things, but it's just like it's kind of heartbreaking in a way because the Ice Flyers do get great support from their fan base. They honestly do, and they show up and they support their team. But unfortunately, the product just doesn't match the support, and I imagine that's got to be frustrating for someone like.
Oh, it does, and a lot of people have made that same argument. Oh well, it's he's got his players now. He's just building them up as a team, but then I look at the Athens Rock Lobsters, which is a brand new expansion team this year in the Fed, who got Garrett Milan, got Malik Johnson, got Orca Weisblatt, um, a bunch of other players. They're 14-4 on the season. Garrett Milan in 18 games has 33 points, 15 goals, 18 assists. Not a single one of our players is anywhere near that statistic. And yet, these players weren't good for Pensacola hockey, according to Gary Graham.
Yeah. I like I said, I have my thoughts on that from what I heard, the way he treated Garrett and the way he blamed him, which, like I said, that to me would be frustrating because I can't imagine like saying the Rivermen like Trudell throwing Hageman under the bus and being like, yeah,
Yeah,
this guy ain't good for Peoria. Ignore all the history, all the good things he's done. He's not good for Peoria. We need to get him out of the game. Like I can't imagine that being said about him in the slightest bit. So that automatically rubbed me the wrong way from the get go. But
yep,
see who he cut and who he brought in to me that did send a clear message that he wants physical play in Pensacola, but at what cost? You
yep.
know,
And the thing is, once we finally got Sean Golka off of IR, which that was breaking his ankle in the first game of the season, the preseason game against Birmingham, that really cost us a lot. And he finally comes back onto the ice, and he's out there, he's getting the crowd fired up, he's making big hits and stuff. And then what happens? He gets called up. So it's that beat is the nature of the beast, especially this time of year, of development hockey. But still, man, it's when you finally get some of the old favorites back on the ice and then they're just gone like that. It's a bit rough being a fan, and of course, our beloved coach doesn't make it any better. So
well, and that's also what I want to talk about the call ups. Because I think you have Cameron Cook on a call up too.
yep, no, him and Colby Johnson have been gone pretty much most of the season. Which
Yeah,
I will say, once Colby Johnson got called up, we actually started playing better as a team. Because if you remember, in the early games, we were losing games by 5-6 goals, and then Colby Johnson gets called up, and those games become a lot closer. And I'm not one to believe in coincidences, especially when it comes to statistical things like that. And you looked at how many times he was going to the box for fighting or a random penalty. Yes, I get he's an enforcer, but when you're 50% of the time when you're in the box, the opponent score a goal on you because you're in the box, you're just a detriment to the team at that point.
right. I mean, like I said, it's one thing to be an enforcer and take those penalties, but if you're going to play physical and take those penalties, you got to be able to kill the penalties off.
Yep, that or get matching so that way your team's not down.
Exactly. I mean, but honestly, you see other teams, that maybe don't take as many call ups. And I mean, you start to wonder, is there a motivation to stay in Pensacola? When they get those call ups, you can't help but naturally think they're like, oh yeah, I'll take that call. And
Yeah, more money and get away from Gary Graham? Absolutely. I mean, as of right now, the only good thing about being a Pensacola Ice Flyer is the fans and the fact that you're the proximity to the beach. That's pretty much it.
yeah. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, like I said, I kind of touched on this earlier. Just the way they're playing right now. What is the biggest change that you would like to see Pensacola make? Even Gary Graham make? What's some things that you need to see in order to see like, okay, we're taking a step in the right direction now?
First off, get an assistant coach for special teams. Period. End of story. Build us a decent special teams group. That way we can actually get some of these goals that'll win us games in the power play. Um, Send our defensive men back to basic hockey defensive training. Get in there, protect our net miner. That way he's not facing shot after shot after shot. And I mean, these goalkeepers have skill, are very skilled goalkeepers. But if you're facing 40 shots a game, some are going to get by you because, especially towards the later part of the game where you're getting sore, tired out, fatigued from facing all those shots. Those are the two biggest things right there for me. And then, of course, fire Gary Graham. But
Yeah.
we have a theme here. Fire Gary Graham.
I mean, say Pensacola misses the playoffs this year, rather it's finishing last or ninth place. I mean, is there any reason that you would think this owner would bring back Gary Graham? Like, what's your thoughts on that? If maybe the
The
owner,
only reason. So here's the thing: as fans, we don't have a big say in how administration is run, except for one: our money. We don't go to the games. That you empty out that arena, it's going to make a point. Unfortunately, Pensacola's fan base is absolutely rabid for Pensacola hockey. That arena, the Pensacola Base Center is pretty much sold out every single game these days. So, I mean, I have to buy my tickets 2 weeks in advance to make sure I get where I want to sit. They're that hard to come by now. So it's
that
that's
just
never
goes
going to happen.
to the amazing fan base that, because like I said, the things that I'm saying, it's not to piss off Pensacola Ice Flyer fans. It's not to talk trash. It's just like with the Ice Bears. It's just like, look, I'm just being honest. I know you don't
Yeah,
like hearing these things, but I'm not going to say them if I don't feel like they're true. And like I've said from the beginning, the moves I've seen and the way this team plays, I don't see a playoff team. I see no hints of a playoff team.
no, I don't either. And to finish off what I was saying, the only reason why I would see the owner bringing back Gary Graham is maybe he doesn't want to pay out the contract.
Yeah,
And money again, money talks. But unless we as fans, really stand up and show our displeasure, we may be stuck with Gary Graham for a while, and that's a really scary thought.
it is. It's something as a fan that would absolutely kind of break my heart, in all honesty, because we have passion for this. We love this. We love taking our families, going ourselves. We want to see a good product on the ice. Yes, we're happy to have a team. Of course we are. But that can't be enough. It's okay to have standards, especially when you're the Pensacola Ice Flyers and you've won championships. You
Absolutely.
you have those standards. We need to meet these standards, or you need to go somewhere else. And that's not being disrespectful, that's being practical, in my opinion. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know how you feel on that, but like I said, it's just obviously the standard is not being met in Pensacola, and you can only have so much patience with a person, right?
Absolutely. And I was willing, to give Gary Graham the benefit of the doubt. He was brought in, he did well in the higher level leagues, but I mean, the results have just not been there. Period in the story. And pretty early on the season, I saw the writing on the wall, and I made my voice known. And got a lot of flack at first, but now we have a lot of the fans are coming our way, including some wingmen or season ticket holders are now communicating regularly and agreeing with me that yeah, Gary Graham's got to go. It's we go to watch the games because we like to go see hockey. That's pretty much it at this point. If Pensacola wins, great. Good night for us. Otherwise,
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's just an unfortunate situation and not fun. I mean, we all know how big of a fan I am of Caden Cahill. I absolutely love that kid. I think he plays hockey the right way. Very intelligent, knows where to be on the ice. He knows where others are supposed to be. He's got skill. His toe drag is flipping
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, and you just watch him as he's receiving the puck when he's going into the attacking zone. His head is up. He's not even looking at the puck. His head is up, looking around. Where can I get this puck to? Where's an open lane? Do I have a shooting opportunity? He is constantly looking for that play. His hockey sense is phenomenal, and I mean, and I have yet to have a chance to meet him yet. But from what I've been told, he is a very just really down to earth and nice guy too off the ice. So, I mean, I, um, I don't know if we're going to keep him after the end of the season, depending on what all happens. I know he probably would love to be back home in Peoria with you guys. I mean, I would love to keep him, especially under a better coach, 100%, where he can really get out there and shine.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, as soon as I heard the trade, I mean, I was already kind of pissed off we traded him in the first place. But when I
Mm,
heard he went to Ice Flyers, I mean, that made it even worse. And I mean, and it's not because, oh, it's the Ice Flyers. It's strictly because of Gary Graham. And I know
yep.
the coach he is. And I'm just like, that's gonna probably hurt Caden more than help him. But credit Caden. He's a constant professional, and he's out there. He's working his ass off. I guarantee you, for the Ice Flyers and their fans. And he wants success. He wants that team to be successful. But when you got a coach like Gary Graham, that's kind of hard, dude. It's really
Yep.
hard to kind of sustain that over the course of a season. And I
Exactly.
wouldn't blame him if he wanted out. I absolutely wouldn't blame him a bit.
Yep. And season is 56 games until next season, correct?
Correct.
So we're going up to 58, back up to 58. And, it's great. Absolutely great to see, we're going to get another 2 games of hockey. But, that's just going to wear on the players. If you're getting constantly berated in the locker room about things that are out of your control and nobody's going to want to play. And I'm afraid Pensacola is going to lose its team because nobody will come and sign for the team after this season.
Yeah. I mean, just some things that I would like to see from Pensacola Ice Flyers. I just want to see them, if I'm a fan, add defensive depth. Kind of like what you said, that defense kind of needs retooled. I'm not saying necessarily everybody has to be shipped off, but you do need to add depth to that position because you just don't see it there. And you don't
Right.
see them being consistent enough to make that team successful because I will scream it from the mountaintops. Special teams and team defense wins games in this league. It
Absolutely.
and it makes you a championship contender. And that's the two biggest things Pensacola is lacking right now, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We play better hockey 5-on-5 than we do on the power play. That is sad.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
it's just like I said. I think the forwards, like I said, especially when healthy, and if the call ups ain't being there, like the players you initially had, like you got some really talented forwards on that team. There's just
yeah,
no denying that. You got guys that
yeah,
can put pucks in the net, guys that skate hard and want to do well. But when they're constantly being blamed by the coach and saying you're not good enough, you're failing, you're the reason that
yeah,
we're bad, when that's absolutely not the case.
yeah.
That it's got to be tough to get. motivated, to do better for a guy like that and play for a guy like that. I
Oh,
mean,
I agree.
it's just it's kind of an unfortunate situation in Pensacola. So before we wrap up here, I think we touched on a lot of things here. I'll give you kind of a moment to say what you want to say about this team, what you want to see in the future, what your thoughts on them now. I'm gonna kind of go ahead and give you a moment to say anything you would like to say.
In the couple of games that I've gone to this year, I see the heart that the guys have out there on the ice. Um, and the fun that they're out. Seeing like Houston Wilson's first home game back after we got that win against Huntsville, him skating around, having the boards, waving it to the fans, big smile on his face. Just happy to be back in Pensacola in front of that roaring crowd. I don't know how big the crowds are in Quad City, but I don't think it compares to Pensacola. Um, he, you know, for the players, guys, keep playing with heart. We as fans will always support you no matter what. Trust me when we say what we're saying right now is nothing, not a reflection on y'all in any way, shape, or form. It's all about the coach. We, as a fan, we will support our players. A couple of things I do would like to say. Obviously, want that power play to get up there a little bit better. I want to see a little bit more on the forecheck. It is definitely a lot better than it was last season, but we got to get in there a lot more, and just our defense has just got to step up. I mean, don't kill the guy, but do whatever it takes to get him away from that shooting opportunity. Whatever it takes. Force him off, body him off. Don't let them get these breakaways that we keep giving up.
Right. I mean, yeah, I mean that's the name of the game, right? Separate the player from the puck. I mean, on
Yep.
defense, that's back checking. I mean, for like what you said, back check, forecheck, whatever. You got to have active sticks. You got to get bodies and sticks in the shooting and passing lanes. And like I said, this has got to come from other players than just defenders too. You got to have your forwards doing this. You got to help your goalie. That's the one thing Peoria does so well with their goalie. They're not out there letting their goalie face 40, 50 shots a game.
Right.
Out there supporting that goalie, making it as, so if you put a talented goalie at net for Peoria, back that up with the team defense, that's why they're in the position they are. That's why they're sitting in second place, even with the injuries that they got going on right now, because they know how to play as a unit and support each other. And that's just something that I don't think Gary Graham is getting across to this
Yep.
team.
Yep. He's definitely not at all. So,
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I thank you for joining me and
absolutely, always a pleasure.
Flyers and being honest with me about it. And we'll have to touch base again, see where the Ice Flyers go from here. Nothing's changed about my prediction. I still predict the last place finish for this Ice Flyers team. Unfortunately,
Out
like
of curiosity, can we get lower than last place? Maybe 11th place by the way we're playing? Because, I mean, or just get relegated to the Fed because we're definitely not playing like an SPHL team right now. So,
yeah, and I know people will say, "Well, this is a development league," and I get that. I get it's a development, but that doesn't mean players ain't talented and don't have success.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it means they're
They're still good enough to be playing professional hockey.
yeah, they're still getting paid. It's in the name, Southern Professional Hockey
Yep.
League. It's right there, and I understand. Like I said, developmental league for the refs, for the players, but that doesn't mean the league is void of talent. I mean, there's plenty of talent, and you can get players to tap in. Not everybody is going to go to the NHL, guys. Newsflash, that's really fucking hard to do. Excuse me.
Absolutely. And absolutely. I think one SPHL player has made it to the big leagues, maybe two. It's not an easy climb to get from the SPHL to the E, up to the A, and then to the big to the show. But
I mean,
it's
to me, if an SPHL player starts and plays in the AHL, I mean, consider that making the big time. I
absolutely they're still making close to six figures at that point. So
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. But anyways, all right. Like I said, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you all at the next puck drop. And I always keep it Riverman style.